Yeah, this might be one of them ones. What's up, Kryptonians? I'm here today to talk about The Crow, 2024 reimagining of The Crow, with The Crow, which is the 1994 movie that's become a cult classic. That movie, which is based on the graphic novel of the same name. And I'm kind of crossing religion here today. Like, I have a Lord of the Rings ring on, the one ring that rules them all, of course. Then I also have a Superman necklace on, and then I also have a Spider-Man shirt on. So, I don't know. Feels weird, but I could kind of make it make sense. I mean, there are spiders in Lord of the Rings. Obviously, Shelob and others like her. Superman and Spider-Man would be friends, so that's my explanation for everything. But this movie stars Bill Skarsgård and FKA Twigs, among other people. Danny Hudson is in this movie. These two drug addicts who escape from rehab, and then they fall in love. Then they are murdered because of some mistake that she made in her past that caught up to both of them. And rather than move on to the other side, his soul remains like attached in this kind of netherworld place. In this netherworld place, he discovers that he has the power to go back to the land of the living. He has the power to heal. He has the power to regenerate. In other words, he can't die because he's too angry to die, or too, like, in love with her to die. It's kind of, you know, depends on your interpretation of the whole thing, really. So now he has to get revenge on the people that killed them in order to, like, find her soul and set it free or some shit. A lot of people expect people to shit on this movie, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have high expectations for this movie. I was open to a remake or a reimagining, though. Like, I'm not one of those gatekeepers that thinks nothing should ever be remade. I consider myself a pretty flexible person. Now that I've seen the movie, yes, I'm going to spend like 70% of this video shitting on it, but I do want to let you know there are some good things about it. It's not complete and utter dog shit. Like, there's like little droplets of poop that you could scoop up with your poop-a-scoop, but it's not like an enormous pile of it all put together in one cluster, you know? Like, this is a considerate dog shit. For starters, I do think that the action in the movie is pretty good. That's the thing that they sold you in the trailers, and obviously it's rated R, so there's going to be a lot of red band shit going on in this movie. That is something that kind of differentiates it from the other Crow movies and sequels and stuff, is that it's definitely the bloodiest, most hardcore in terms of violence than the other movies have been. And if you're here for the violence, if you're here for the gore, if you're here for swords getting impaled through people and people getting shot in the head, if you're here for that, then I think you'll have a good time with this movie. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed a lot of the action scenes that popped up here. Now, one thing that helped sell the action scenes is that Bill Skarsgård was good in this movie, especially when he finally becomes the vigilante that is the namesake of the movie. He does bring a physical presence to the role, and you can tell that Bill Skarsgård does care about this character and does want to do a good job. He's a good actor, very talented. He does do a good job with the whole gothic moody thing when he's allowed to do it. I do also want to shout out the movie for occasionally having some pretty solid visuals. It's not a beautiful looking movie per se, but there are some beautiful looking moments and shots. The way that they translate the visions in Eric Draven's head, some of the transitioning between living and dying, a lot of that stuff, I thought visually there was some stuff going on that I want to show appreciation for. In terms of the soundtrack, you know, most of it's forgettable, but there's like a song or two that I was kind of like, nice. All right, now that that's over, we can perform the autopsy on the body of the rest of this thing. Holy shit. It feels like they got most of what made the 94 movie such a cult classic wrong. Like, they kind of went in the opposite direction. It's not to say you can't have some enjoyment with this movie. Of course you can, and there are going to be people out there that love this movie, and I salute you guys, and I support you guys, and I'm happy that you guys liked it. But holy shit, what a bland, drab, uninspired, schlocky mess of a movie. It's hard not to compare it to the 94 movie when the movie is trying so hard to be a remixed version of that story. That movie had an immersive feel to the world and to the look of the city, to the cinematography, and that is kind of missing from this movie. I just wish that the city itself felt more like a character. It feels like a big missed opportunity here. The villains in this movie are written awful. There's really nothing more to them beyond the base concept of what they're supposed to be. They are very boring, and you don't really care about the villains, and they pop up every now and then to do some villain shit. Otherwise, they're replaceable and forgettable, and you don't really give a shit. That inconsistent writing also applies to the characters, namely the character of Eric Draven. It feels like we don't actually know as much about him as we should know about him. There's a whole side and aspect of his character that feels unexplored here. It feels like they do the bare minimum. He feels very cardboard cutout. And there's like this whole other side to his character that is teased and never shown, and it also makes all of his actions in the movie feel very inconsistent. That gets to the biggest problem I have with the movie, which is the way that the romance is depicted in this movie. Listen, the romance in this movie is really going to sell you on whether or not you're gonna have a good time or not, because they spend like the first 60 to 70% of the movie on this romance. It's not for a lack of trying. They do apply plenty of scenes to try to push these two together to make you feel the love, so to speak. Like, they feel like they're having a fling. It doesn't actually feel like they're in love. It doesn't actually feel like there's a spark here. There's no sizzle, there's no heat, there's no pop. That really hurts the movie because they're supposed to sell you on this tragedy. They're supposed to sell you on this romance, and that it's powerful enough and strong enough to create strong enough feelings of love and hate to get this man to come back to life. I understand them wanting to build up the relationship and the romance, like that made sense to me. I just feel like they could have done a better job with it. It's just a few scenes of them hanging out and kissing and fucking, and then they're in this penthouse. You spend a lot of time on this. It just starts to feel like wasted time, and then it feels like when you need other stuff to be more important and more slowed down and paid attention to, like Eric Draven and his backstory, like the villains and how they're written, it just feels like they breeze past all that like it doesn't matter. And the way that Eric Draven's character specifically, the inconsistency with him kind of ruins the romance and ruins the entire point of the movie, because his character is just very confused and kind of a wuss for the first like 70% of the movie. I'm not saying he needs to be Rambo levels of masculine. I'm just saying, like, he's very confused and wishy-washy and back and forth. I don't feel the conviction, and because I don't feel the conviction, I don't believe in it. And because I don't believe in it, I don't believe in the movie. This is a dull, lifeless movie with really bad pacing and really inconsistent writing and acting. Kind of in a pickle here, because I want to give this movie 2 ratings. If you're comparing it to the '94 movie, it's absolute dog shit. If you're comparing it to like the sequels or movies in general, it feels like a guilty pleasure type of movie that you can have some fun with. There are some redeemable qualities here. I'm gonna split the difference here, and I'm gonna give this movie a rating of kryptonite. It's bad, but it has a few tiny good things about it. Guys, those are my thoughts on The Crow. So tell me, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Tell me what your favorite sequel is. Put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel. Stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.